Hello and welcome. This is Outlaw. We're going to go ahead and talk about the game Raid Shadow Legends today. So, Raid Shadow Legends is a game that was made by Polarium. You can find it either on the Play Store or you can find it on the Apple Store or on Polarium Play app. It can be found on mobile or on the computer. Now, today what we're going to talk about is we're going to go ahead and talk about the four starting champions. Now, your four starting champions are going to be Kale, Gallic, Athel, and Elhain. Now, all four of these starting champions are going to be pretty good just to start the game with and do your regular, everyday thing that you need to do to get anywhere in the game. They're all pretty good in the campaign, they're all pretty good in most of the dungeons, but each one shines somewhere specific. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and talk about Elhain first. We're going to first talk about the skills, we're going to talk about our stats and things like that of all the champions. They're all pretty similar. But we're going to talk about the skills first. So Elhain for skills, we've got Keen Shot, Lightning Arrow, Valley of Death, and then we have an Aura skill. They all have the same Aura skill. They all increase the ally HP in all battles by 15%. So you don't have to worry about trying to pick one that has a better Aura skill. It's all the same. Another similarity they have is on their big AoE ability. When they get upgraded to 3rd Star of Ascension, they increase the damage of, or they increase the chance of a critical attack by 15% on their big AoE ability. Now for Elhain, we've got her Keen Shot as her primary ability. Attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical. So normally we know that we're going to go ahead and want to build Elhain with crit chance. We have Lightning Arrow, attacks one enemy, then all enemies. Places a 30% increased crit rate buff on this champion for 3 turns if the target is killed. Now that's pretty good. Now, when we ascend her, we know that she also gets the plus 15% chance to increase it or to land a crit. So on her first attack, it's going to give her an increased chance to land a crit. Because when you play an auto, Elhain will normally use Lightning Arrow before any other ability. So she gets the increased 15% chance of a crit on that ability, and then she gives herself a 30% increased crit rate buff if she kills something. She probably will kill something with Lightning Arrow, though, in most cases. And then her third ability is Valley of Death. This one attacks all enemies 2 times. Now it doesn't look super flashy, it just says attacks all enemy 2 times. But it's on a really short cooldown at 3 turns for an ultimate ability for her. And then on top of it being on a really short cooldown, it also does deal a pretty substantial amount of damage. Normally if you're using Elhain in arenas or in a campaign setting, this attack will generally clear a wave or kill most of the wave. Um, so Elhain's pretty good in just about everywhere. But where Elhain's really going to shine over just about anybody else is Elhain's going to shine in. She's going to shine in Spider. Spider's really good because Spider helps you get artifacts that you can't otherwise get. And we're talking about your ring, your necklace, and your banner. Everybody has their 6 primary artifact slots, and then you have the ring, the necklace, and the banner. The ring, the champion needs to be 4-star to be able to equip a ring. They need to be 5-star and ascended to equip a necklace, and 6-star and ascended to be able to equip a banner. So all of those you have to kind of go through your champion and make your champion better before you can equip them. So Spider itself does turn into more of a mid to late tier portion of the game. That being said, it's still really important to be able to do Spider, so having an Elhain who's going to help you out in Spider is going to be very efficient. We have Athel next. Athel's pretty solid in just about everything, the same as Elhain. Where Athel's going to shine most is going to be in Fire Knight, and Athel's going to shine in Fire Knight specifically because of this Strike Down ability. So she attacks one enemy 3 times, has a 75% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns on the last hit. Now, this weaken debuff is pretty solid. It means that the target is going to take 25% more damage, as well as deal 25% less damage. So Athel herself puts a really nasty debuff on the target, but she also hits 3 times, which is why she's important for Fire Knight. In Fire Knight, he has a shield that you have to break down the shield before he starts taking full damage. To break down that shield, you have to hit him multiple times, and I believe that the early portion of the game, Fire Knight up to I think stage 5, it's 5 times you have to hit him. So hitting him 3 times on one champion is really solid. You then have Divine Blades, attacks all enemies, doesn't look flashy until you ascend it, where it has the 15% chance of inflicting a crit. Divine Blades does deal a fair bit of damage, just the same as how Elhain has her ability that deals a decent amount of damage, but just attacks all enemies. So again, this is kind of where we can see the crossover, where Athel also works in spiders. So she's got Higher Blessing. Higher Blessing places a 25% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. Places a 30% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns. If this champion's current HP is less than 50%, she gains an extra turn. So she's always going to gain the extra turn. The only thing that's important is that she has to be below 50% health before she'll gain the 25% attack and the 30% defense. Now, these buffs do last for 2 turns, so generally where this is going to be really important is this is going to be important in things like arena. Normally arena defense. So in arena defense, your team's normally going to go second just because the other team will probably be using a speed lead. We're thinking maybe something like a High Katoon, as High Katoon's one of the welfare epics that everybody gets, but you'll be going generally second. So she's going to get hit at least once. She's going to have 50% health or less, and then she can use Higher Blessing. She gains her extra turn. With her extra turn, with her 25% increased attack and her 15% increased chance to inflict a critical, she's going to use Divine Blades. Generally light somebody up pretty hard. This is a pretty solid way for her to do things. It makes her really helpful for arenas, but again, where she's really going to shine from all the starters is she's going to shine in that Fire Knight. Fire Knight's a really good place to take an Elhain. Elhain works really well there. Now next we have Gallic. Gallic is a pretty easy champion to see why he's good. He's not dependent on crit or on anything really specifically. Gallic can pretty much just be built just for straight damage. Early on, if you take Gallic, you'll probably just build him 3 offense sets. But Gallic has his 3 core abilities. He's got Cross Slash, where he attacks one enemy 2 times. He's got Hellraiser, attacks all enemies, has an extra 15% chance to inflict a critical. Again, that's the Ascended. Places a 30% increased speed buff on this champion for 2 turns. Then he's got Cursed Blades, attacks 4 times at random, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% increased debuff or decreased debuff for 2 turns. Has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns if the target has more than 2 debuffs. Now, his last ability is the one that's really going to be important. This last ability is what makes him work so well for Minotaur. At the start of the Minotaur encounter, the Minotaur is going to have a buff and a debuff pairing. Now he'll start the encounter with the buff. The buff increases his attack and decreases the amount of damage he takes. His debuff is the exact opposite. It increases the amount of damage he takes, but decreases his attack dealt. So Cursed Blades is really good to hold off for that point. If you hit him with Cursed Blades at that point, he already has 1 debuff on him, so he just needs 1 more from your team, and then you hit him with Cursed Blades, and he gets a 30% chance to decrease his defense by 60%. Decreasing his defense by 60% while he's already taking more damage, you're going to blow him up pretty quickly. So it's pretty easy to go ahead and use Gallic in that location in Minotaur and kill the Minotaur pretty easily. Now, Minotaur gets important when we're looking at masteries. Just like we talked about how Spider gives us our separate artifacts before, Spider gives us these nice little artifacts for our character. The Minotaur gives us masteries. Now, the masteries are all going to be important. So we have your, increases crit rate and crit damage. These are all good masteries that are going to be on the person. These are all passives. So you don't have to do anything special other than just get the scrolls and purchase the masteries for the heroes. These just increase your average score on the hero, making them a little bit more powerful. That's why Minotaur is so important. Our last champion that we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about Kayle. Kayle, I think, is by far my favorite. Kayle is really useful for some higher tier activity. Kayle becomes really powerful for clan boss. Now, Kayle becomes powerful for clan boss for the same reason he's powerful for most high tier activity that you're going to use him in, and that's poisons. So poisons in this game work off of a percentage of health. So his first ability attacks one enemy, has an 80% chance of placing a 2.5% poison debuff for 2 turns. Now, when you get him fully skilled up, he has a plus 20% chance to hit those poisons. That means once he's fully skilled up, he'll always hit that 2.5% poison, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but in certain locations, that deals 10,000, 15,000 health. That's a decent amount of damage. And that's just extra damage after he's already hit the target. That happens for 2 turns. We also have Acid Rain. Acid Rain attacks all enemies, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit, fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. This is how Kayle can cross over into spiders pretty easily. All those little mini spiders die pretty quickly, they don't have a whole lot of health. So when Kayle uses Acid Rain, he almost immediately gets another turn. Now it's on a 3-turn cooldown, so it doesn't take very long for Kayle to be able to reactivate this ability and hit it again. But in something like the clan boss, this isn't going to be useful as he attacks all enemies, so it's going to be less damage on one target than a single target ability. He has a 15% chance of increasing a critical hit, which, okay, that's great, that increases his damage, but he fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. Well, if you kill the clan boss with this ability, then you're not really worried about increasing your turn meter. The clan boss is dead. You've won. His next ability is Disintegrate. Disintegrate attacks 4 times at random, has a 40% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. Now, the 5% poison debuff is really important. That comes out to if all 4 of those poisons hit, which he's got a 50% chance base, so you're going to want to give him a little bit of accuracy for that. But if all of those poisons hit, that's 20% of a target's maximum health. Now again, I was talking about how this is really important for the clan boss, but the clan boss does have a limitation. He will only take so much damage as a percentage of health damage. So, no, unfortunately, you're not going to deal 5% of the clan boss's actual health in damage for each tick. That would be insane. People with poisons would just absolutely win at the clan boss every time. It would make the clan boss a really easy activity. But it does deal a pretty substantial amount, which we'll go ahead and talk about in the next video. We're going to skim over briefly the clan boss. So the clan boss himself is a pretty powerful demon lord. The clan boss, the regular easy clan boss, has 19.2 million damage. So when we hit that clan boss with a poison, a 2.5% poison debuff, that deals 10,000 damage. Now when you're looking at teams that for easy, pretty normal to cap out on the easy clan boss, you only have to deal 1.1 mil damage. So it's not hard to get that damage. So the 10,000 health, that's not insanely hard. That means you have to hit the guy, what, 100, 120 times to capital out with just a poison damage. Not to mention all the other damage that you're going to deal. Most people in the clan boss will deal about 1,000,000 damage per key. Most early on accounts will deal about 1,000,000 damage per key for the easy clan boss. Pretty easily capitalizing on him. Having somebody like a Kayle or somebody who deals poisons, that's going to increase that damage a lot. I mean, if we take a look at, I have a couple of other people in the guild that deal decent damage. The poisons and the percentage health damage abilities still deal a lot of damage. So having an early game champion who starts, who's really good at giving poisons, that's going to help you out so much in the clan boss. The clan boss is the only place in the game where you can go to get certain artifacts. Those artifacts are the Cruel set and the Immortal set. The Cruel and the Immortal set are plays on the first 2 artifact sets you can get in the game. So the first artifact set that you get in the game is an HP set that gives you plus 15% HP as a 2-piece. Now, the Immortal set gives you 15% HP and heals the champion for 3% of their health every turn. The second set that you start to accrue in the game is the Offense set. The Offense set gives you plus 15% attack. Now, the Cruel set gives you 15% attack and ignores 5% of the enemy defense. This is pretty good just about everywhere. Ignoring defense on a target is always going to be helpful, just like healing for 3% of the damage that you deal or for 3% of your health is going to be helpful. It may not be a lot, but in the clan boss where you're getting hit pretty often and you want your team to be pretty fast, it's going to help you survive. But this is the champion spotlight for Kayle, Gallic, Athel, and Elhain. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and I hope that this will help you guys kind of pick out your starting champion, or maybe help you guys learn something that you didn't already know about these starting champions. As always, thanks for watching. Have a good day.